Hello and welcome to this pit stop for Fallout, a game from Fantasy Flight Games designed by Andrew Fischer and Nathan Hajek. In Fallout, 1 to 4 players are going to take on the roles of up to 5 different adventurers in the post-nuclear apocalyptic wasteland of the setting of the computer Fallout games. On each player's turn, they're going to take 2 actions, and they're going to use them to discover the modular map. Now, the map will be larger than this one here. This is just for examples. And they're going to uncover features on these tiles, and they're also going to cover enemies which they may well encounter as they go around the place. Enemies come in different varieties, and they'll constantly respawn as you defeat them, but they're only activated on certain rounds. Now, as players come to these features on the map, they can encounter them, which is a standard encounter. In this case, in these ruins of Highway 724, I can decide to spend an action to encounter it, and you'll always face a card that looks something like this. In this case, I've discovered some scavengers who are deciding to have a race through the ruins, and I can decide whether I wish to join them, or I wish to hang back, or I wish to just train on the course after they've done. If you're playing with more than one player, the other player will read this out to you. You won't know what the effects of your choices will be until you do it. So in this case, I might join the race. And this gives me a test I have to complete. And whenever you're doing a test, you have to roll these dice. They're used for combat and for tests. And when you're doing tests, you're trying to get as many asterisks as possible. In this case, I have 1. And this difficulty is 6, so that's not going to do me any good. However, this is your experience board, and these are your characteristics, which you may or may not have advanced. And for each one that you have advanced, which is located in the test that you're trying to do, you get a reroll. So in this case, for my L, I get another reroll, and no, I haven't managed to roll the 6, which was this difficulty, which is as tough as it gets. Therefore, I'd have to do the fail condition. Now, if I had succeeded here, I would have got some money, which I'll be able to spend later on to either advance the things we're trying to do, or to buy some equipment. And I'd also be able to take an item. The other thing I could have done would be able to train on the course. Now that would have given me some experience points. And the way the experience system works is, when you gain experience, you count from where you are, and you stop at every attribute that you've increased. In this case, 1 at the L, and then 2 back to the beginning again. And every time you go back to the beginning, you draw 2 of these experience tokens, and you choose one to add to yourself. Now, the next time I get experience points, I'm going to have to stop at the P and the L. It's going to take me 3 experience points to level up again. If you were ever to draw 2 that you haven't got, more likely when you're more experienced than this, then instead of gaining an experience point, you're going to get perks, which are one-off cards that you're going to be able to play to give you situationally very important powers to help you get you out of a pickle. The other thing I would have got from doing this, if I'd held back and taken their stuff, I would have got loot. Now, loot and the stuff you can buy by visiting cities all come as either armour, which will prevent you from getting damage, weapons, and that's how you get rerolls during combat, which we'll look at in a sec. You can get companions, which have a variety of different powers, and they're from the computer games. Or you can get stuff like extra money, drugs, which you can take to help you out but might make you become addicted, or magazines, which will help give you an XP boost whenever you rest to recover some of your hit points. But they are more useful earlier on in the game to give you a boost up through the levels. I did say there's a shop. Whenever you visit cities, you can choose to go to a shop and you'll be able to buy very similar things to those which I've been talking about. The other things you can get, usually via story items, are unique items like the Pip-Boy and the Fat Man and the Shish Kebab, and they will generally be better than those available through standard encounters and via the shop, which you can buy. Now, while that's a standard encounter, there'll always be at the beginning of each of the 4 scenarios a story quest available to you. Now, in this case, we're playing with these 2 factions, the Railroad and the Institute. And the story is all about synths, which are robots that look like humans. And one of them is attempting to support them and free them, and the other one is attempting to control them. And it's kind of important how the story is developed, because it affects a lot to do with the scoring during the game. Now, in this case, what it's asking us to do is either find and kill any humanoid enemy, or go to Diamond City and get some information. Well, there's a humanoid here, as we can see. So I'd come in here. For combat, you're rolling the same dice, but each enemy tells you, you're not looking at the asterisks this time for your damage, that's their damage. It tells you what results you want to have on there, and their hit points is always equal to whatever their level is, and that's also how much XP you'll get for defeating them. So in this case, I've rolled a body and a body there. I've hit him twice, so I ignore his armour. and hit him and I defeat him. Now I get that experience points as we've seen, but he also hits me back for asterisks which I've rolled, so I'll lose 2 here. And the way you're going to die in the game is that you'll lose hit points via combat, but also there are irradiated levels and other effects throughout the game which will increase your radiation level. Now, you can heal, but it's very rare that you're able to get rid of your radiation level. You might have to find some radiated milk and stuff like that. It's not going to do you much good. Once I've killed that human there, I'm going to advance the main story. And that's going to give us another chance to move on. And every time you do a main story quest, what you do is you advance one of the 2 different factions. That's the timer on the game. If any of the factions ever reaches the bottom, that's game over and none of the players have won. What the players are trying to do is score agenda points, and you're going to get those agenda points generally by doing the side quests that are unveiled throughout the game, by either following side quests or every time you do a main quest, and they'll let you draw agenda cards, and agenda cards will give you points. Now, most agenda cards look like that, in which they're linked to one of the 2 factions. All agenda cards give you 1 point, but this one will give you bonus points for how far ahead your faction is. In this case, it's 1 bonus point. If we were down here, it would be 2 bonus points, etc. Again, the number of points you want to get is player number dependent. There are other types that will give you agenda points for having upgraded all of your abilities, or for exploring the whole map, or for having lots of money, or for being idolized, which is another one of these statuses down here. Because you can become idolized or vilified or addicted, and they'll be affected what encounters you're allowed to do, and you might be forced down certain paths if you've done particularly good or particularly bad deeds previously. You also might be able to unlock more features on the map. For example, Vault 84 is up here and you can't go into it at the beginning, but by going down certain quests you unlock those encounter decks. The first player to reach the agenda point target is going to win the game of Fallout. This has been a Game Pit Stop. For more videos like this, check out the Game Pit channel on YouTube. For more in-depth coverage of gaming, please find the Game Pit podcast.